Well, welcome everybody to the MarketingBox podcast. Today, I'm in the studio with a couple of dear friends of mine, long time friends that have built a absolute, just incredible business. I've had the pleasure of watching this along for the last, how long, 25, 34 years. And so, welcome to the studio, Holli and Heather.
Thank you, Shami.
Welcome.
Our journey of evolving.
Yeah, of evolving. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. How long do I go back with you guys? How long? When was I introduced to y'all?
You know what? 2003.
2003.
Right.
Tara?
Katrina. Yeah, Tara in 2003. 2002, 2003.
Yeah. So at that point, you guys had been in business for 12 years?
No, because we started in 1988. Is that right?
16 years.
16 years.
16
yes.
years.
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
So I've always wondered that, like the H2O name and how did you guys get started in this? So like what was it and when did you guys know and how did you kind of take us back to the beginning of what
really kind of our journey began. Heather immediately went to beauty school right out of high school.
Okay.
So I took an alternate route. I went to Loyola for a year, and a girlfriend of mine loved the retail business. So we decided we were going to move to Dallas. We literally flew to Dallas in 1981, went to a design school. So I worked for Calvin Klein for 5 years, and we were doing that. So kind of Heather and I's original journey was, one day we're going to open a hair salon and a clothing boutique.
Why
together.
Why did y'all? Was this something that you knew from your household? Like, what made you guys want to do this?
I think honestly, I think entrepreneur. I think it's a spirit. I think it's something that it's caught and it's taught. So for us, my mom was, my dad, my uncle, my grandfather. So it was almost like it was a natural thing for us to do.
Yeah.
And I think most people who are entrepreneurs, they have no fear. Like they never look at, oh my gosh, is this going to work? They love being able to take a risk, and I think it nikes them to say, "There's no way I can fail." So I think with us, it was the power of two, being twins, and it was just the automatic thing for us to do, right?
Wow.
Because people ask me all the time, did you ever think it wouldn't work? And I said, we never ever thought that because we just knew if we were going to put our minds to it, we were definitely going to win.
Yeah.
Because it was just a decision I think we made too.
So did your family do this? Was anybody else in the?
Well, we were raised by a single parent, which for Heather and I, we love single parents. And what my mother would always tell us is, you can do anything you want to do. So that was just something that was just kind of innately in us. So we were 12 years old. My mother opened her first salon. So think about that. 1972, how many women stepped into their yes, and a woman entrepreneur who opened up their own business.
Wow.
Yep. So for us, our mother was really that trendsetter, that day maker, and really has been a legend for us. So she's our hero. So we just stepped into what she already put in us. So as little girls, we saw that. My mother had these 4 green eyes looking up at her and saying, okay, we want to be just like her.
Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. So Heather went into the industry 5 years before I did, and when I moved back to New Orleans, my mother at that point was ready to retire. So we just knew that we were going to link arm in arm, and we kind of just looked at it. Heather has different strengths than I have, and I have different strengths. So we kind of looked at it. She always had the creative piece, and always launching into that thing. And I loved math, and so I was kind of like the paperwork person, because Heather was busier than me initially, and so we knew, I'll never forget, when we first started, we did everything. On Mondays, we placed the orders. We cleaned the salon on the weekend. We did payroll. And we knew, for us, every month, we needed $5,000 to pay our bills.
Right.
In the first year we were in business, and of course I tell my kids this, and Heather has, Molly's 28 years old. We were 27, and it was just something we saw, okay, you know what? We need $5,000. So we knew
how to pay bills.
How to pay bills.
I think nowadays kids don't think about that. They have a great idea, but how are you going to math it out to really be productive? And if you need a whole you check, are you fine doing that so you can really start to take care of your company?
So so how many clients did that equal to in the beginning to meet that 5,000? Because haircuts were a lot less expensive back then. Right?
Yes.
Oh gosh, yes.
And
when we first started, we had four full-time hairdressers. Heather and I, this girl Kelly, and this girl Linda. And then this girl, Darlene, joined, and then my sister Heidi was part-time, worked with us. And for us, I know, like what I went into it, because I was calculating all my days, So on the weekend, I was like, okay, I need a $350 Friday, and I need a $350 Saturday. So for me, I went in thinking I needed $1,000 a week. That was my goal, right? And at that point, Heather was probably doing $2,500 a week. So we kind of mapped out for us to match our expenses. Our goal each week was to bring in $5,000.
And how were you bringing those people in? It was
Shami,
all word of mouth?
Let me tell you what was so amazing, because
Miraculous.
when you look back at everything, nowadays people really want to do a business plan, and they want to lay it out. And we were ignorant in that area. You know, we didn't even lay out a big business plan. I was like, okay, I'm going to bring in this. Okay, you're going to bring in this. And we kind of just took the rest of the group and said, they're going to probably do this.
Right.
And we just said, honestly, you know what, we can do it. And we became so busy that literally people would wait outside and line up to come in.
Yeah.
I think it's because it was almost the novelty piece of being twins, and it was like the H2O, and a lot of people in Uptown and in Lakeview and New Metairie and Old Metairie knew me, and it was like, oh my gosh, there's another one just like you. It's like it was an extension, you know, and so it really just started growing.
Yeah.
And honestly, people would wait outside for us. And I think, as my mother says, when you love people first, then really possessions will end up following you. So we always loved beautifying people. It was kind of like a natural thing that we just innately possess. I believe it was our God-given talent. Mm-hmm. And so that just evolved, and it started growing and growing and growing. We were so busy that the people who owned the center, Sterling, they came to visit us and said, I have to see what these girls are doing, because we were so honest with our agreement that we made, with our lease agreement.
And see, with lease agreements, we had a report every month, which of course we did. Our first year, we did $472,000
in 6 months,
and we had to for the year, and we had to give them over $16,000 in percentage rent, because we were under percentage rent contract, and we had 1,000 square feet. So that kind of positioned us for the following year to say, listen, we'll take on another 1,000 square feet. That's when we kind of created a boutique that we had and expanded
what address
some
was
of the
that?
services.
Where was that?
701 Metairie Road.
Okay. Is it the same
Small
location
strip
where you are right now?
No.
Okay.
It was in a strip center. So it really kind of positioned us at that point. We were able to kind of carve out the percentage rent, right?
Yeah.
Because we were making more commitment to more square footage.
right?
And then at that point, after our third year, Heather and I basically said, and being a family who's like, you got to have your own business, and you don't want to pay someone else's note. We were like, we need to buy a piece of property. And that's kind of how that evolved.
Right.
So you guys so right out the gate, you were just successful, like right from the beginning.
We were.
Right from the beginning.
Yep.
That's
And you know what, Shami? I want to say this, because this past weekend, I did clients who were really part of
The starting.
probably the first 100 people that came to our new location.
You're still with you.
And they still with us. And one girl, I met the son that his mom, whose hair I did. So I'll give you an example. It was one Saturday afternoon, and this is really a message for young people,
Right.
that I believe. Because what's really great my mother put in us is we know how to extend ourselves, and we know how to not only, make the difference, but be the difference. And to me, that kind of carves you out in your own niche. And this little girl I met this week, her name is Victoria, and she's dating this guy, Cortland. And she said, oh, gosh, how long have you been doing Cortland's mom's hair? I said, well, let me tell you a story. We were in business for 3 weeks, and a dad walked in at like 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. And if you know our industry, we early birds, we like 7:30 starters. And he said, oh, can someone do my hair? I said, well, if you can give me like 20 minutes, because I was on my last client. In my heart, I wanted to go home, right? We worked very hard. We were on our feet. Yep. And I said, I'm going to stay. So as I cut his hair, he said, can I send my wife? Do you cut kids? And that following Tuesday, his wife comes walking up with their little boy. And I was like, oh, my gosh, Stephanie. I had not seen Stephanie in 20 years.
We knew her when we were young.
We were like, 14, 15. And here I am, 27 years old. I hadn't seen Stephanie. And I still do Stephanie's hair. And I did Stephanie's kids. And this is the girlfriend that's now going to one of Stephanie's. So if people can look at the domino effect, and like Heather and I always say to our team, step into your yes. Do the next thing.
Or
and
do the hard thing. Do
right.
the thing that's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
which I did, and it's like, oh my gosh, which we know the sowing and reaping principle, right? Because you do that, Heather does that, I do that.
It's such a small thing, but you don't understand the way that becomes a
The dividends,
catalyst.
the return on that is far greater than money.
Far greater.
It's relational.
It's the H factor, it's the harvest.
I bet you if you put a pencil to stay in that 20 minutes and what they've spent with you over the past however many years.
Oh gosh, 34 years.
Yeah, astronomical.
I know.
Well, that's why I love you girls so much, because you guys are just out there. It's fascinating to me to see people. It's like, how did you, it's always fascinating. How did you get started? And we hear the same thing a lot of times from people, is that we just dove in. We did as much analysis as we could
As
based
we
on what
knew,
our knowledge
honestly.
was.
Right.
But then the big thing is we just made sure we were serving our customers and taking care of our customers and doing the things that we wish everybody else would do. We said, let us do them first, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's fascinating when I think about it, because you guys have been, you have like what I call a blue chip brand here locally. Like, you guys are famous people here. You're local celebrities in a lot of ways, just because, you do all these like all these people that have a lot of money and all these big events and all this stuff. And you guys are have been at the forefront of all that stuff. And
we love it. It really puts us in a position, we there to celebrate when you have a baby, celebrate when you get married, celebrate, when you have a grandchild. So it's this evolution of relationships that just are so rich and are so deep, which we just feel like we feel so valued that we can really just be a part and value in our customer and be a part of their life forever,
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about the business?
People.
Seeing people.
Because when I'd be in your chair, a lot of times when I'd be getting my hair cut, I'd see you, and it's almost like you're the hairstylist preacher. You probably
Therapist.
get a chance to really speak you with people for an hour, 2 hours sometimes, Heather. But when you cut a girl's hair, Angelina's hair, it seems like for a while, you get probably to have some really interesting conversations, I would imagine, when you're in that chair, and you get a sneak peek into people's lives, and you're able to really help them.
Yeah. I think the thing that's so wonderful, I had a client that came in today, and I said, Miss Beverly, you didn't call me to tell me about your doctor's report. She's like, Heather, I just cannot thank you enough when you prayed for me. She says, that prayer, you just went on and on with that prayer, and somebody else said the same prayer over me. She said everything worked out perfectly. So for us, we love hair, but at the end of the day, we really love people, but we happen to do beautiful hair on people we love. See the difference?
Yeah.
And I think for us, like my mom never taught us that, you really need to go after your money. You really need to go after your vision, and you need to go after your dream. Because money has always been the byproduct of everything we've done. Because vision's going to take you a lot further, right? And the more you keep casting that vision, it's like fishing. You keep casting that vision, then that vision's going to grow. But that vision really is really impactful if it involves people.
Right.
Because that's when really everything ends up affecting not only us, but then that's how we build an amazing team. Because if we just did it by ourselves, we would be limited.
Right.
But the power of H2O, H, Heather and Holly, 2, the power of 2, but the O's for others. So the O is really you as a guest, the client, but the O is also
Our
my
team.
team. If I don't have this group with me, how can I really keep that synergy going, and how can I really impact not only our city, but impact schools, right? Impact families, right? Impact really our state. And really just impact our industry, because people who are starting in the industry, they want to hear our story. Like, how did you do it?
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing that young people need to realize, that, don't get so hooked on the story when you're doing social media. Get hooked on that person that's in your chair, and that person will end up telling your story. Right? So you're going to multiply yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to tell your story. Everybody will start to see your story, and then you can empower your story just by people realizing, she was vulnerable enough to really tell me how hard it was for her. Or she really had to really sacrifice to really we had to hold our check sometimes, so everybody else was taken care of, right? And then we were able to do that. So you have to be willing to kind of pay the price to really kind of be in a position that you can decide what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Yeah, there's times, in our business, because of the ups and downs, where, I haven't, you have to do what you have to do to keep the people there, because without the people, there's nothing without your employees or your teammates. And I watch the way you treat the people that you can tell it's family. Like it's a great environment. It's a great, when I talk to people about this particular topic, it's almost like you either have it, like when you walk in, I did the podcast with Zen. It's magical there with Lydia, her staff, it's magical. And I think it's because your team probably knows that you're being authentic, you're being genuine, you really do care about them, you're concerned about what's going on in their life, and that's a big, it's a big thing when you have employees, because how do you get them to reach toward? You talk about vision and a higher goal. People they thrive on hope and hope for a better day, hope for a better life, hope for a better environment. And so when you're instilling that into them as an employer, they'll literally go to the wall for you a lot of times. And I think that's what I've seen in your business, I
think one of our core values has always been, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think if you really get to know us, we really want to link arm in arm. We want to take that person next to us and we want to say, listen, you do have what it takes. Yep. And if we can help and support you and undergird you and teach you and be there for you, we want that. I mean, we've helped so many people from paying for their dentist, to paying for cars, to paying for housing, to paying for school, to paying for schools.
Weddings.
I mean, the list goes on, but we do it with a good heart. Yeah. And so I think
because we see that in them, and I think sometimes people don't believe in themselves. I love the saying. It says that you see the world not as it is, you see the world as you are. So if you can really help somebody change the way they see the world, they end up changing the way they see themselves. Yeah. So really, it's like the law of the lid. A lot of times people put the lid on themselves. This is as high as I can go. Compared to who? Like, who told you that? Yeah. And so if you can really help somebody take that lid off, and like Holly said earlier, when we were talking earlier, and help them find their place of brilliance, you're great at that. Have you ever thought about doing weddings? You're amazing at makeup. Yeah. You have beautiful skin. Have you ever thought about being an esthetician? And you bring those gifts out because you believe in that person. That's how confidence grows. Yeah. And when you get confident, it ends up showing. People want to be around confident people, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of something that I feel like we've even branded. And even hairdressers who started with us and they're not with us, any salon you go to, if they know that was an H2O employee, oh my gosh, she has to be great. Yes. So we know if you're not even with us, we know there's a brand that we created, and you just happen to participate in it, and that's why people really still value you. It's validated your skill set because you were part of our company.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed about you guys. We were actually talking about this on another podcast, that the 6 traits of the most successful entrepreneurs, and one of those things is, I think the most important, an insatiable appetite to learn. And I know that you put a big emphasis on continuing education, understanding, what's
goes next.
Yeah, what's next? And who's determining that? I'm always fascinated. Who's determining what's next? Is it culture? Is it like how do these styles? Because we were talking. What hairstyle was it? Mike was saying with the black with the
shadow root.
Yeah, the shadow
root. Oh, the grunge when it was dirty.
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Yes. Like all of these styles that have gone in and out, so it's, I guess the game is just like in software, it's always changing.
Well, everything is progressing. There's always, if you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah. Faith doesn't stagnate. Our life for us does not have a shelf life.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? We're not putting ourselves on the shelf. And so for us, we always see, and that's something, it's not about being dissatisfied, right? It's about wanting more. Because, in all of us, we have the capacity to learn as much as we want to learn.
That's right.
To grow as much as we want to grow. So for us, it's more to grow so we can impart. Success that's not given is failure. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? Or success that's not shared is failure. Yeah. So, I had this conversation with someone the other day. I said, you know what? If I want to get fit, right, then I'm going to go talk to the person who's more fit than me. And that person's going to put something in me to help me, empower me to make the next step.
That's right.
So that's what it is like at our salon. Like when these new people come in, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can be the next person. Yeah. You can be the next Allison. You can be the next Dane. And that's what we have, things that we measure. Because we always say this, anything that's mastered has to be measured. That's right. And everything that is measured, it's because it's mattered. We matter. It's mattered to us. So for us, the education piece and just kind of becoming better is just part of who we are on every level, not only in your skill set, but emotionally, how you connect, your communication style with people, how you grow. Yeah. I mean, that's something that we've really evolved this year. We call it customer connection. For us to really teach our team how to connect with the client, mentally, emotionally connect in relationship, their soul, connect. Tell me what's going on inside of you. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that just all brings, and that's really a message that Heather and I always felt we wanted to drive home. We never, ever, ever, and this is something I have to really attest to my mother, we never, ever went into this business, we were like, we want to be rich. We want to be millionaires. We want to be fabulous and famous. And right now, that message, sweetie, you need not worry about being fabulous and famous. You need not worry about making money.
Do it in a daily.
You have to love what you do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't, you know what you become at that point? A counterfeit. Yeah. Because when you truly love what you do, all those things just come. They are a byproduct of everything that comes out of you. Right. And I love my mother to always tell us. My mother, which now that I'm older, I value some, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
As you get older, you oh my gosh, like some days when I drive home, I'm exhausted. I go, oh my gosh, Mom, I'm so glad you made us live like this and do these hard things, right? Yeah. And my mother was not flowery. You know, let's face it. I mean, I'm 61. I'm not the ugliest person. I know I'm an attractive person, right? So, you know, Heather and my sister and I mean, we certainly have been blessed. We have my mother's genes, right? And I'm grateful. But my mother would never touch on the flowery. She would be like, oh, and you're beautiful, and you're great, and you're skin, and you're my princess, and you're my queen. My mother was like, I got the 3 hardest working daughters in the world. I got the 3, because she focused on integrity, motivation, honesty.
Character,
She
kindness.
drew those things that were inside of us, not the peripheral thing.
Yeah.
And that to me is such a lost thing right now, because so many people focus on, oh my God, and she's gorgeous, and she's sweet, and she's beautiful, and she's this. Does she love people?
Right.
Does she have integrity?
Exactly.
Is she morally sound? Is she honest? Let's talk about those things.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that the book, the cover doesn't describe what's inside the book.
Right.
You know.
It's empty inside.
Yeah.
Empty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that though.
Oh, that's fantastic, and you can see it in everything that you guys do. You know, you're all about the people, and yeah, it's just fascinating to me, the story and the fact that you guys, you know, the business plan thing. You never had a business plan, so as you
Now, as we started to grow, though, we realized, I mean, by 2005, we had 90 employees. So we realized, you know what, we really were really managing and overseeing so many people. We had to get a lot of things on paper. So we laid out a whole career path. Like, this is exactly what the path needs to look like. And we ended up putting dollars to that on, this is, when you get to this, you will be making that. We really mapped it all out so people would know exactly where they are but what they need to be. And I think that's a little bit when the business changes like that, you realize, you know, you're their boss a little bit. It kind of changes a tiny bit. But we did that by also really spending time with them with reviews and helping somebody find out what's important to them. Because this may be important to us, but if I can find out what's important to you, right, then I can really help you fulfill your dreams. So we really had to lay out the math. And I think one of the things that set us apart too, Shami, is we really got involved with gift certificates. And we were the first mega spa really in Louisiana, because we opened a mega spa in 1995, which was the next thing that we were looking for. Like you said earlier, I love how you guys always want to learn. So really, one of my mentors, I said, "Hey, what's the next step?" His name's Scott Cole. So what's the next step for H2O? And he says, "You need to become a mega spa." And that's when we really married the hair salon, bought our own building, you know, built it. We did the hair salon downstairs, and we created the whole spa.
the spa, yeah.
And what empowered our spa is really our gift certificates, because we had kiosks in the mall. So that really kind of made us a household name during any kind of holiday.
Right.
You'd want to go have a day of beauty at H2O.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that just really kept us, okay, so same thing, like what's next, you know? And so that grew, and then a lot more other companies got involved in that started saying, hey, we need to get involved with the gift certificates too. But with that also came change. Katrina came, and we looked at that as an opportunity. Hey, let's expand.
Right.
So everything was going on. A lot of people, even our team, they were really unstable. They didn't feel comfortable, and we're like, you know what? We need to come forward as a strong front
And pivot again.
Yep.
See, it's all about pivoting to go to the next thing.
That's
You
right.
know,
Right.
you don't want to stay put. You have to step into it.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
next?
That's
So
it.
that's what we did.
It's one of those things, if you're not growing, you're dying kind of
Totally.
thing. Just, you know, and that's the way you know, people ask me all the time, like, how did you get to where you are now? I don't have any idea how I got to where I am now. Just the next step was the next step, and I leaned into it, and sometimes I was right and sometimes I was wrong.
Right.
But that path never really ends as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you do it afraid. And I think instinctively, I always say this is one of my biggest sayings. If where I am right now is the most it's ever going to be, then I have to be fine with where I am. But if it's the least, I'm going to risk it to grow something new. So if you think like that, then you know, we don't calculate everything. We don't look at everything. Everything doesn't need to line up to us visually. It lines up here. And so when you kind of know and you know, or that you know, then you really need to risk it. I'd rather risk something I've never had than to keep something. To stay the same. I'd rather risk it.
Yeah,
I have
because
nothing to lose.
What is there to life without that? What is life?
Right.
What is life? That's what I say. If I got 1 foot on the plank and 1 foot off, that's when I'm the most comfortable, because the only way it works is if my faith overcomes my fear and God meets me wherever I am.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what about, you know, as far as this in the salon world, you guys have pivoted. You had the spa. What's the next coming? Is there anything new coming? Like, is there any big change in, in the way that salons work, or any new techniques or features or anything like that that are on the horizon?
I think one of the new things for us is a lot of times, like we said earlier, because of being in business for so long, clients will see things in you and they're like, that's your gift, you're great at that. And because we really are the veterans in the industry, that we really created a consulting company. It's called Hair to Care. And so, again, like Holly said earlier, you have what's different now in the industry. You have the solo salon, so that's the single stylist, right? They're doing it's a one-on-one. Then you really have solo services. I'm an extension specialist. I'm just an esthetician. I do the skin pin. I just do Botox, right? What's beautiful about H2O, we do it all.
Right.
And I think what happens when you just think down that vein, where do you go from there? What's next? Your client that's 18, they're going to be 28, 38, 48. What is that going to look like for them, right? So we love the fact that we are multifaceted, whereas we have a huge male business. I love children. I do a 5-year-old, and I'm going to do a 105-year-old.
So it's a multi-generational piece, which for us we love.
It keeps us relevant.
Is that the way
keeps us
most salons
relevant.
work, or no?
No.
Not necessarily. And when you say, like, what's the next thing? Well, to me, the next thing is, because I know in 2021, a whole thing, men's business, the grooming business is blooming. So it's like men's grooming is blooming. So that's an element for us that we know we're going to go deeper in, right? And the spa, there's been a change from not only relaxation to now spa health.
Spa health.
So that's
like
the
drips,
element
drips.
that we
Drips,
are going
IVs.
into with the spa health. Even just different modalities that are set up. Like I know there's a brain tap element in spa, so you can go and basically have virtual meditations. So there's certain little things that we want to incorporate. And like Heather said, for us with the consulting business, it's really for us that we want to impart and show other salons. I mean, we found out during COVID that we're the #1 salons in the country. Okay, so Kerastase is L'Oreal's premier line. They have about 2,000 salons in the country. We're the #1 salons in the country from Mandeville and Metairie, Louisiana, in doing treatments.
Right.
Why is that? We don't know.
Well, I think a lot of it is that
Do you know what I'm saying?
With the pivot, we really became a care salon.
Right.
So it wasn't like we just do hair. We really care for you. And
Right.
so that evolved in how do people like to feel cared for? When they're getting their hair cleansed, right? It's like that whole that I'm gonna decompress and I want to care for you. They already know I'm gonna have beautiful hair. That's a byproduct of them scheduling the appointment.
Right.
But boy, how are you gonna make me feel? Yep. That's really up to the stylist and that's up to the company.
When you leave there, it's like, man, I needed that today. I needed that today.
Right.
Yeah.
So for us, it's our consulting company. We really want to bring hope to all these newer stylists, to all these hairdressers, to all these companies that are saying, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. I would love for you guys to come in and partner with us to really increase not only our bottom line, but to teach us through what we call mind share, we call it soul share, and we call it value share. And we have all this really scripted out to help you grow not only yourself as a professional, but what can I give to this client here that's coming to see me every 4, 5, and 6 weeks?
Gotcha.
So we really map that out. And so honestly, that's a new thing we're doing because we feel like we have something to contribute to the industry.
So you're mining the data of your existing customers and figuring out what things that you can layer on that are going to be valuable to them.
Totally. Right. Totally.
Man, that's really smart.
And I think people, like Heather said, for us, COVID, we took COVID and we were sitting on the couch, right, during COVID, and we took COVID as not a setback but a setup. And it really allowed us to see, right? Sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't see it. But when you step back,
Yep.
it's like you have a different lens. You have another set of eyes that say, okay, wow, let's look at what I'm doing and let's see how great we're doing it, right? Because, for us, sometimes, when you love something, it's not like, and what about this, and what about this, and what about this? You just kind of evolve. You go, oh, wow, I'm really doing great. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've really put myself in a position that I'm doing a lot better than I thought. How can we, right, put that and give that to the next generation?
Right.
And we love all the generations because that's who we serve, right? Yeah. So it's really interesting. I went to a show about maybe 5 weeks ago, and it was people from all over our state that went to this show, and it was in Baton Rouge. And so I went and kind of just wandered around. I wanted to meet different stylists. I met stylists from Appaloosa, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, Donaldsonville. And I was listening to them, and I'm thinking, okay, here's some young people, right? Because when we did this, like, we dove in 6 days a week. Like, we kind of hairdresser
Boots to the
Rambos.
ground.
Yeah.
Like you a Rambo, Shaman.
Yeah, I'm a Rambo.
I mean, you exercise, you a
Shit.
beast, right? That's how we are.
just
We
gotta
like
go
get
get
into
it.
beast mode when
Yeah.
it comes behind the chair and love it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not sad, like we love it, right? And I was just listening to these young girls, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know from doing the stats, the average hairdresser in our state is making $28,000 a year, right? The average hairdresser. We have people, because one of our things is we want to teach you and we want to show you and we want to manage you to become a six-figure stylist. We have so many six-figure stylists who are single moms that are working 4 days a week, that are making six figures, that can send their kid to great
Dancing.
school, that can send their kid to
school.
extracurricular activities. So that's something that we see, oh my gosh, we want to take these young people. Listen, I don't care what the stats say, you're making $28,000. You follow our plan, right? And we're going to show you how you can make 50. And
what
then
is-
50
and what-
becomes 60, and 60 becomes
and what is
70.
that? Is it education? Is it
think
knowledge? Is it
you know-
teaching them how to talk to people in the chair? Like,
I think it's all
think
of it.
it
I think
it's all of
honestly,
it.
the biggest thing that sets us apart as a company, casting vision.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I can cast vision and see what's in you and bring it out, that's what people buy. I always say people don't really buy a place. They don't buy a people. They buy the vision. They buy the vision of the
Of the
person
place.
who's going to bring them and call their giftings out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's vision.
And I think too, you know, there's an element with our salon that it's not mediocre. So it's okay. Like Heather and I always say this, you know, if you want to be a C player, right? Because there's A, B's, and C's, right? I can take a B and I can make a B and A. But sometimes we all are connected to those C people, right? Now we're gonna really try and do everything we can to gird
Raise you up.
that C person. But sometimes some people are just fine with status quo. And I think for us, I think the real heartbeat of our salon is we're not a status quo person. And you either find yourself and you locate yourself and you really grow and say, I love that.
Right.
Or over time, it just kind of doesn't work for you. And so for us,
that's okay.
and that's okay. Like we want it to work for you, but if it doesn't, it's okay. But we know for us, we create different revenue streams that we empower because our treatment area, most hair salons, the stylist is washing their hair, doing their treatment, and doing every element of it. We have assistants, and we call it care coordinators in the back to help gird them up that are doing the treatments, that are supporting them, to really position them to create extra revenue that they can participate in.
Because some people, like, they come to work and I'm here today, right? Okay, did you decide what kind of day you want to have, right? So we look at every ticket average and say, okay, if your ticket average is 100, what can we do to change that to 125? Right. So you're not doing any extra. You're not doing 5 people now. You're doing 7, right? You're doing the same 5, but how are you changing your ticket average, right? How are you empowering them when they go home? They really want to be. They're going to think of you when they get out the shower. Right. I need to use that mousse bouffante. I need to use that nectar thermique. All that creates brand recognition, and subconsciously, people really are thinking about you the whole time.
and you got to sell that too.
Yes.
So you got to learn some sales skills
Right.
while you're in that
Verbiage.
chair. Verbiage.
And we call it luxury language. We really do.
true.
That's something that we just, it's an automatic thing, but we didn't it became automatic because it became a part of us, right?
Even the way you answer the phones.
Yes.
Yep.
Even I know because when you
Yep.
when you call over there, you guys answer the phone.
Well,
and say,
Holly always says, we're going to teach you skill, and then we need you to have the will.
Right.
So we're going to teach you skill, but do you have the willpower? Right. Do you want to do it?
So who's the perfect candidate? Like who is like somebody
Whosoever will.
Whosoever will.
Whosoever will.
Honestly, for me, in this day and age, and I tell my boys that, think about it, Charmy. When we were younger, competition was great.
Yep.
Zig Ziglar always said, competition dies down 50% after 40 hours a week.
Exactly.
Right? So I always think of this. If you have the person, because right now I tell all young people, you have to just do a little bit extra
A little bit.
to stand out. Now, we grew up in the era of, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, all these hot motivational people, and we were all motivated to make a living. We're going to be successful, right? The word back then was success. You're successful, you're success, right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Now it's purposeful.
Now it's more purpose.
Yeah.
It's more, who are you influencing? But I always say this, I'm only influencing in what I'm great at.
That's
If
right.
I'm not great at something,
That's it.
I'm having lip service of influence,
And people are rolling
but I
their
have no
eyes.
backbone to support what I'm trying to influence
Right,
you in.
right.
That's
Right? At the end of like what I said earlier, I'm not going to go get advice who someone needs to lose weight if I want to go on a diet, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if you have a great work ethic And if you
Love
are really
people.
passionate about something, I think the biggest thing now, people don't know what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
People don't take time to pause, take a pause, journal, write some things down. You know, we live in such a superficial world, and that's really my message for young people, especially females. We live in such a superficial world that is really a world of make-believe and pretend, right? And it's ironic that our industry, we in a mirror all day, right? Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Oh.
Who's the fairest of them all?
Right.
Well, the fairest is the one who's
Is
living their
the-
purpose and defining who they are and are working
Right,
hard and are
right.
taking care of people. That's
Not
the
the one
fairest.
with the
Not
best
so white.
filter. Not the
Not
one with the best filter.
Right.
Not the one who's,
Right.
you know.
Right.
You know, again, I always go back to, I'm so thankful my mother didn't teach us all these superficial adjectives on you're pretty, you're great, and you're a princess, and you're a queen. Da, da, da. I would never, in a million years, like, no, let's talk about what's going on inside. Let's talk about what are you giving.
Well, it's just being
Becoming
authentic.
a day maker. Whose day you making?
Yeah.
Did you get up today? Did you make a difference? Did you become the difference?
Right.
Who did you help? And that's something Heather and I are both like that.
Right.
Like we truly
Be different and make a difference.
Yeah.
Like you want to be different. Like
Yeah.
I always tell my kids, like
Set
it's okay
yourself
to be
apart.
different.
Yeah.
I knew I was different when I was small.
Yep.
I was an identical twin. I had red hair, and my name was Heather. It wasn't a common name, and we had a long last name, right? That wasn't common.
Yeah.
So I knew I was different when I was 5 years old.
And we were
So-
the only ones in the neighborhood in the area that were from divorced parents. That was a big. We were Catholic.
We all tough. We all tough.
I
She
think-
was definitely tougher.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Shami, it's because I had this conversation with a client this week too. You know, on my client Shannon, she's got 2 daughters, and we were just talking. You know, and it was, you know, Heidi was just kind of more messy, and a little more lazier, and just kind of wanted to like whistle through life a little bit. And Heather was more intense, like everything perfect and organized and neat and efficient. And I was like that peacemaker kid.
Right in
Oh
the
my
middle.
God, why did you wear her underwear? Oh my God, why did you beat her up? And it's like I lived in this tug of war thing. Oh, you know. And so what I would kind of do, and I reflect on it now, which thank you God, right, is I would kind of spend a lot of time like, okay, it's okay. I did a lot of self-talk, right? It's okay. You don't want to be like that. You know, you don't want to do that. You don't want to, you know, because I remember as a little kid, I didn't like how it made me feel inside, right? So I wouldn't wear her underwear because it was going to upset her, and then I didn't want to get beat up either. So it wasn't worth it to me, right? And so, you know, and Shannon was saying this week, she goes, oh my God, I only have 2 daughters. I need that peacemaker. I need that peacemaker in the middle, you know,
Right.
between her 2, Brooke and Grayson. But it's just interesting to just see how, you know, just that evolution of stuff. And we, you know, our first job, Shami, we were 12 years old. And you know who we worked for? This is for if anybody's listening to this. I think I told Newell Norman this when I did his hair last week. Manpower. Now, Manpower was an organization put on by a public job placement
Parish.
for Jefferson Parish called Manpower. And
Oh,
it was
I've
to
heard of
help
this.
young kids.
Yeah.
And we were the custodians at Harold Keller School. In
Now we only
6th
worked
grade.
for 2 weeks, but we
Well,
worked.
but the point is, it was Heather and I and these 2 guys. But my mother's like, you need to get a job. So we were like 12. Okay, but we getting a job.
Well,
But
but
we
she'd bring
always
us
loved
lunch
to
every
work.
day.
Yeah, but
Popeyes.
aside from that, though, we always loved working.
Yeah.
We loved rearranging our room. We couldn't wait to clean the whole house.
Well, we didn't look at it as work, and it was almost like, well, that's what you're going to do. It was like, okay. Like, it wasn't like you have to work. It's like, that's what you're going to do.
It was that whole achieving accomplishment.
Yeah, it was a challenge.
And you know what? And I always say
I want
that
to
I don't
start a
compete
task,
with
and I
anyone.
want to complete.
Yes.
I don't compete with anyone. I compete with me. I try and be the best and push myself. You know, it starts in the inside first, and then you make the step move.
Right.
Then it happens on the outside. And that's the whole achieving, acceleration, wanting to be better and do more.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's just innately in Heather and I.
So how much, you know, because I know you both are women of God, your faith plays an absolute important part in just everything in your life. And so when did all that happen, and how much, you know, because when I hear you guys talk, it's like you hear Jesus coming through the things you're
Right.
saying, you know, so your faith and your beliefs are tied so much to the way that you treat people. And I think that's probably one of the reasons you've been so successful, because the instructions that you're following are good instructions.
Well, everything's in the kingdom. I think
Yeah.
every motivational speaker, they took everything from the Bible.
That's right.
They kind of grab a little bit of this, grab a little bit of that. But you're going to hear, like, you know, success in life, or, you know, you destined to succeed, you destined to prosper. Okay, well, you know, humility's in there. right? Gentleness, kindness. So I can speak for myself. There's a few things I had to work on as far as like the fruits of the Spirit. But the more you really love people and really love the Lord, you realize, you know what? And maybe just getting older, you realize, you know what? I want to leave an impression on somebody in a good way. I want to say the right words. I want to say it with the right tone. So, and that's the Bible. I mean, it's really the word of life. I mean, it's the thing that really forms us. And like the Bible says, it's the incorruptible seed. So it's incorruptible, and when that seed gets planted on the inside of you and you give it to somebody else, it's going to go forth and produce. So that's just really, the Bible is just, what does it say? Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
That's right.
Right? It's like,
And
do
then she
unto others
fulfilled
as you want
everything.
people to do
Do
unto
unto you.
you. So I think as I've gotten older and having kids and seeing the value of having younger people be part of our team, I see how important it is for me to speak those words in them, because I'm actually leaving something that could really transform their soul. Mm-hmm. So it's more about, I really need to say the right thing. I need to do the right thing because I want them to change, and I want them to see God in the midst of all of it, right? Because if I'm not around, I want to leave something good, not just a good haircut.
Right.
I always say, no one leaves our salon and says, oh my gosh, I love my triangular bob. You did a great job. Mm-hmm. A client never says that to me. They come up and say, I love how you made me feel. Yep. I feel like I look sexy. My hair's so shiny. But I love what you said to them. I mean, they love us more than just for what we do. Yep. It's really how we make them feel. Like that saying, people won't remember what you did or what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the most important things that we love to do. Yep.
Well, it follows through in your staff, because when Jamie cut my hair, she was fantastic. She always made me feel like I was the only person in the world while I was in that chair. Yeah. And so I think that's that I'm like, boy, these girls, they covered all the bases, man, because, it's interesting seeing that from an employee, not from one of you two, right? But I see her and I see, all of your stylists that I've ever been in there, man, they're engaged with that customer. They're in it like they have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world. And I think that's...
And I think for us, like draws like. I think people are drawn to us for even our team. I have a team of givers, a team who really, at the end of the day, are we perfect? No. But at the end of the day, do we really want to help one another? We really do. We really, really, really. And that's what I even tell teammates, working with a bunch of women. Like, oh, that one, this happened and that one did this. I said, listen, at the end of the day, they want you to excel and succeed, and they want the best for you. Yeah. And I think, I have this new girl who works with me now, and on Saturday, because, I'm kind of a roller. Like, I'll roll with the flow, the good, the bad, the ugly. Okay, we'll just do it. It's okay. Let's just, do it, right? I don't overthink. And she goes, I'm such an overthinker. I said, well, girl working next to me, you're going to be delivered from overthinking, because I'm not overthinking anything, right? So anyway, a client came in. It was booked incorrectly. She goes, yeah, but it was booked wrong. I said, listen, this is not going to be the first person that's going to be booked wrong for you in your career. This is not about that. I said, they book wrong for me too, right? I roll. And I said, okay, you're overthinking it. Go put her under the dryer. Go find out what color she wants. She said, okay, Dane, do you think this looks like the color? Yes. I got collaborated with two other teammates. Yes. I said, do it. She came up to me. She goes, oh my gosh, I can't tell you. I'm so glad you made me do it. I feel so great. My last salon, I would have felt terrible. It wouldn't have worked. I would have got yelled at. But it's like, she was like relieved because she didn't even know she had it in her, right? But the Bible even says a good man draws it out of that person.
That's right.
A good man draws it out.
That's right.
And that's what I really want. At the end of the day, I want to draw out the best in everyone. I really do. And I think that's part of our whole day-making experience. Are we perfect? No. Do we have a perfect heart? Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of a pressure cooker when you think about it. A young stylist, like you are, this isn't practice anymore. You're in the game.
Right. The show, right.
Yeah, you're in the game, and that person expects to leave there.
Make it happen.
Especially when they come to H2O, right? They're not going to, Fantastic Sam's or anything. Like, they're coming to H2O. They want an H2O experience.
Yeah. And I was so happy for this girl because she just was so fulfilled. I mean, I literally have thought about her this whole weekend. I said, I'm thinking, you know what? I was so proud of you that you just trusted me, because that's what it was. She got up, she was sitting on the fence. I go, you can do it. She trusted me enough and did it. And the client loved it. And that was really the big objective. It's like, that's the whole family experience. We link in arm in arm and say, listen, I got your back. We're going to do this, right?
Make it happen.
Like my dad always told us, right? One for all and all for one.
That's right.
I'm not doing good if you're not doing good. And you're not doing good if I'm not doing good. Yeah. But together, collectively, we can all move forward to do good so we can do great, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And I would imagine a young stylist can get into that habit of pawning off the decision on a tough decision to someone else. At some point, you have to run through the fire if you're gonna be successful, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you girls are some hard charging, working, just freaking kicking ass and taking names. So talk a little bit about what you do outside of work. You know, what's your hobbies? Any hobbies?
Working out.
Working out.
Yes. I have to work out. I have to go sweat. I have to just shut everything down. I just want to shut it down. And I work out, exercise. And I like to journal. I just like, outside to me is therapy. I feel like the older I've gotten, I love outside. Like, I think just, like, the sky's bluer, the grass is greener. I call it that, you know, that little white noise, like having all that stuff, or the noise that you can hear, but not really the birds. It's almost like my senses with hearing are a lot more in touch.
acute.
61. You know, it's interesting because I just turned 57, and I find myself in similar situations. I've gravitated towards being okay as a loner, and I just read something that says you really have to guard from yourself when you start to get older, because you have a tendency to veer off. And what I found is I just enjoy time with myself, enjoying the things you just talked about. Taking a moment to look at the trees, you know, the sky, the beautiful, like I'm a weirdo for sunsets and sunrises. I'll go sit on that swing by the lake house swing most afternoons and watch the sunset, just because it's like I'm watching a miracle happen. I don't remember being like this when I was younger, but more and more and more, those things have become much more important and much more real to me.
It's almost like I'm sensitive to them.
Yeah.
I'm like aware of, you know, even water, like feeling water, washing my face. I'm just aware of things more.
I think reflection, I always say, you know, reflection brings correction. And in reflection, you self-discover. And so I think there comes a point, you know, now, you know, my life is definitely hectic at 61. I'm not going to act like,
What's a typical day in Holli's
typical
life?
day for me, you know, like this morning I woke up and, you know,
Coffee?
I always say, definitely coffee.
Definitely.
Definitely coffee and definitely strong.
Coffee.
My mother would say, you like your coffee like your men strong. And I love strong coffee. But, you know, for me, you know, I'm newly married, and I always tell my husband, and he's so great and precious and amazing, I need my quiet time. Or I know for me, and I think for me, really, for the last 10 years, is I'm really desperate for God. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a desperation, and there's being desperate in knowing I can't do it. I can't run the ship. I can't navigate my life. I'm going to mess up. I don't know the right words to say. I don't know the next movement. I don't know anything. And so for me, I'm a huge journaler. And that was really cool. When I moved out of my house that I had lived in for 30 years, I literally had baskets of journals. Wow. Baskets. And it was so cool. I mean, I was reading one last week on my son turning 1. And it was just like every nickname and just stories that I wrote. And I thought, you know, one was my son was 5 and he was 7, actually, my youngest one. And I'm like, Josh woke up this morning, he's like, Mom, I'm going to have a church bigger than Creflo Dollar and Joel Osteen. And Max is going to be the worship leader. And Max said, no, I'm not. I'm going to build the church, which if you know him, my son Max would never be a worship leader. You know, he's like a behind-the-scene kind of guy. Right. You know, but I was just grateful in those moments. Like, so for me, definitely taking a pause. I definitely need my God moments, and I need my quiet time. But just, you know, I just started exercising. I joined a club in January. I hadn't exercised in 10 years. Now, when I go, I definitely have to bring my phone, and I definitely have to listen to my worship.
She's not like you, Shami.
My eyes are closed. I got to listen to my worship. I got to listen to, you know. And today when I went, you know, I put on Steve Harvey, and he was just talking about, you know, that older you get, the value of gratitude. And that's what I love about my new husband. It's like he's grateful. He always says, I'm a simple man, but he has created such a calm life because there's no drama, there's no junk, and he made wise, you know, when you make wise choices, you have less junk, right? And just, he's grateful. Fonz, like you said, loves taking pictures of the sunset. Gonna sit outside, come look at this tree. Oh, did you notice this over here is blooming?
The small things.
And I think as you get older, you look at that. But I think, too, you know, for me, it's like, remember the movie Schindler's List? And, you know, he was determined, you know, if I can feed one more person, if I can. So I think just something that's innately in Heather and I is if we can help one more person, if we can impact the next generation, if we can do something to our kids that is going to transcend time that they're going to impart. You know, we multi-generational. I know everything I'm doing today, it's for my children's kids. Right. And I think we live in a society that's so moment-driven. You know, it's at the moment I'm like getting my coffee. At the moment I'm puckering my lips. At the moment I'm getting my fillers.
My Insta story now.
And
but they
it's
go
like
away. Life
is not instant. Like, are you living for the eternal? And I think for us, we do have a very clear eternal perspective. That's why we do what we do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
So
it's powerful.
Mm-hmm. I know. I always tell my kids that the great thing about your mom is that she's never going to die, because I'm going to leave enough of myself here that I'm going to live through you guys, and that's the continual piece. You know, that I think is so important. And like Holly said, I think a lot of younger people, stylists, just people trying to find themselves out, they do. It's like why is it called the Insta story? It's an Insta story. It's going to last for 24 hours, and then it's over. It's like I instantly felt great right then and there. Well, do I feel great today? So if you can really feel great every day, or you can kind of fake it till you make it, or you know what to declare and decree over yourself, or you know that I'm going to be a day maker, I'm going to change somebody's life, that's in the daily. It's not just right now. It's not the story that's going on right now, you know? Yeah. So,
I mean, even in my journal, I'm sitting while we're talking, I have all my employees' names all listed. I don't know why on October 3rd, you know, journaling, the Lord told me to write every employee's name down to pray over them. I don't know. But I did that, and that's that getting away time and taking a pause and saying, okay, it's not about me. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what's so great about not only in our business, what makes us so relationship connected and all is what? It's a dialogue. Yeah. We talk to our clients, they talk to us. We impart, they impart. We give, they give. Yeah. And that's how it is with our relationship with the Lord. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. Yeah. It's, okay, God, I need you today. You know, I'm bringing.
It's a listening prayer.
It's a listening prayer.
Because you could really just be talking or whatever, but you listen and maybe he's really telling you something, and you just been declaring
the vocabulary of silence.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, he really wants, God, you really want me to do that. So I love, that's my new word, like a listening prayer. Let me listen to what he's telling me, and then I can write it down, because then he's going to empower me to be way more productive today. Right. I'm listening to what he tells me to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially like us, like we're workers, so we always kind of have an agenda, right, Shami?
Yeah, and I noticed.
We Martha, and I'm learning to become Mary, sitting at his feet. You know,
one of my favorite books is a book called not the Art of War, but the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and he talks about all, you know, the way the universe works in the spirit world. He calls it something in the book, but essentially it's the spirit world. And he gives this analogy that, you know, hey, you don't think that this invisible realm is real? Try sticking your hand out the window going 60 miles an hour. And he said, this is what happens is as you're putting these good things into the, you know, out the frequency or whatever into the spirit world, those things are starting to come together, and they're starting to form into something. And then the world is adapting around your new mission. And a lot of the things he taught is words, affirming words, understanding the opposition which comes to, you know, procrastination, you know, putting things off, saying, oh, you know what, tomorrow. Those things, it helped me so much in my life, because when I understood what those mean, that it was, he calls it the resistance. It was the resistance coming to kill, steal, and destroy.
What does resistance do when you really do a muscle?
Yeah.
One of the best things, it grows.
It grows, right.
What are you going to do when you don't feel like you're going to press through? I love my son like me, and he always says, Mama, people really want to have a motivational word, or they want to be motivated. I don't want to be motivated because it lasts for a minute. I'm learning disciplines.
That's right.
Because discipline is a form of motivating. You motivate yourself to be disciplined, so
Yes.
you can follow through. So, like we've always said, you got to be you got to be fine doing the tough things.
Do the
if
things
you're harder
you need.
on yourself, life will be easy on you.
That's right.
Easy on yourself, life's hard.
Yeah, if you just I tell Caleb, do the things you're supposed to do, and then you get to do the things that you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's powerful for young people, you know. I know I'm just really thankful because I know where your hearts are, girl. I know that you're, you know, the things that you're putting good stuff out in the world. You're building people, you're building the next generation of leaders. And in the midst of it all, you've created this incredibly successful business. You've gotten to travel the world, do everything that you want, met famous people. But then everything I hear from you is you're still down in the trenches doing the basics, the blocking, the tackling, the things that you need to do to continue to have an impact.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well,
and loving it and happy about it.
yeah, it looks like y'all are picking up steam almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
We had a meeting in New York last week, and it was really phenomenal. And the guy said, when we finished, well, Holly just said, we really just know that we're passionaries. I mean, that's just really what we're all
Passionaries.
about.
Passionaries.
And
Is that a word?
It is a word.
Oh, it is.
And it means to
Passionaries.
inspire people with vision to make the world, make other people's lives better.
Right. So you don't just have passion, you have passionary.
You guys could just give a quick rundown to the audience. If they want to be a stylist, what is your best advice? What's something that they can do now, today, to get into your field?
Maybe call a few salons and say, listen, I want to come shadow for a day. I want to see what the energy is.
And I would just say, so I think people go in there, and a lot of times they just look quiet. I think it's important for you to cast vision. So if you go to a place and they really can tell you what they're all about, like this is our mission statement, this is what we stand for, how they greet you, how they really see potential in you, tell me what you're passionate about. If they can help create that, then that's where you need to be. Because that's a place that's going to move you forward. That's a place that's going to take those gifts that are buried on the inside of you that you don't see, right?
Yeah.
And that to me always starts with a vision. People really buy a vision of a place. That's what they buy, because it's the leader. I mean, we know how many great leaders, their companies, their churches, right? It's really the person who started. They took that vision, they cast it on everybody else. Everybody else has the same vision, so there's this synergy, and what does it do? It just grows, and it's powerful. So you really don't worry about a haircut, because we can teach you that. We always say, we don't really care what your skills look like.
Exactly.
We just really want to develop you as a person. Skills follow.
Yep.
Oh, so
Skills
it's
follow.
not like an artist that if you can't draw, you just can't draw. You can teach somebody how to cut hair if
totally.
they're passionate about it.
I feel like everything starts mechanical, right? And that's something we always say. When we speak out of hair, we have a revelation of it. And so for us, COVID, right, the salon owner who hadn't been behind the chair in 15 years, they didn't really know how their teammates felt.
pivot,
They didn't know how to pivot. They weren't in the trenches. We not only worked in our business, we worked on our business. So we knew how to literally go in and undergird and say, listen, I know how you feel. I know what it's like that all your clients are calling you. I know what it's like to not get a paycheck. I know what it's like to see what's going to be the next move, right? And so to me, it's like that's something that person that's out there saying, I think I want to go to beauty school. You know what? I'm not creative in every element, okay? But I'm great at serving. I'm great at wanting to take care of people. I'm great at loving on people. I'm great at casting a vision. I love new ideas, and I love what's always new.
Right.
I just naturally love that, right? So you can start off mechanical, and then we can teach you how to be creative.
And Sham, you know what I was thinking about
interesting.
today? Well, it was Saturday. I was coming back from doing a wedding uptown. This girl was from Dallas. And Rod Stewart came on in my car, and his song was Forever Young.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's my sister and I's next message.
Yeah.
Because young has nothing to do with what you look like.
No.
And he is in his 70s, but that whole song, Forever Young, he was really casting vision if you start to listen to the lyrics. And I'm like, you know what? If you really live forever young, you will never age. And that's why our tagline has always been, we're ageless at H2O.
Yeah.
Which we said that
where
when we
beauty
were
is
20.
ageless. We said
Where
that.
beauty is ageless.
Yeah. And look at you two.
Right.
It's like they're
So-
seeing it. They're
so
telling the
really-
truth.
So honestly, kind of what you said, the
prophesied.
vibration of my
Vibration of
words,
your words.
it came to pass,
Clock,
right?
it's called.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true.
But anyway, I just think that when you stay forever young, and I mean, you have that at home with your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's turning 80 this year on December
Looks
13th.
amazing. I know.
And she's forever young. It's really
Forever young.
because it's her attitude.
The spirit's young.
Her
Yes.
spirit is young. And
yeah.
I think when you have that, it's a caught behavior.
It is.
And so people catch it around you, and they start to sound, our team sounds just like us.
Yep.
Like you can hear us in different things they say, because it's something that we've been able to give them that, and like they have that conviction that that's me too. You can tell somebody something, but if I say you want this water, but it's only yours if you take it. So we want our team to take it.
Yeah.
And of course, not everybody does take it,
Yep.
or they take it for a season. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the message is still the same. Our message is still the same. Our message hasn't been diluted or convoluted. It's still the same message, right?
Because it's a good message.
good
And it's
message.
a message that's
It's a message of
evergreen.
hope.
Yep.
It's a message of, how that I always say, the things that we really want to have really worked at giving our team is we really have 5 core values. Accountability, which brings responsibility. Responsibility is going to put you in an environment that creates sustainability. For you to then have profitability, because we want everybody to profit.
Right.
If you don't win, I don't win. For you to have flexibility. So it's so beautiful about our salon. We have different levels and layers, and we represent womanhood beautifully. We have the person that's newly married that has 1 or 2 kids. We have the single mom. We have the veterans who have been there for years. We have the person who maybe has been married and done 1 kid, so the person who just is newly divorced.
Right.
But we really have reached everyone that encompasses the whole world. So we can show you how to work 5 days and be successful. We can show you how to work 2 days and be
Right.
successful. So it's not about it's really the quality of life that we have created in our industry. For whatever season you're in, we can meet you in that season.
Yeah.
And we want to, and you can be successful.
And everybody's singing from the same string of music.
Yes.
And you're training the veterans, and the veterans are help shepherding in the young people, and they're
exactly.
teaching them the same thing. And so it's, each one teach one.
It's a domino
So
effect.
it's forever young.
It's forever young.
Yes.
It's forever young.
I think the only other thing,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
you know what, the only other thing I think we should maybe address
Okay.
is the value of women in just any industry.
Right.
Like we not now, like we mad at men. Like I didn't go into the business wanting to compete with you at
Right.
all. But I just wanted you to respect me, and I always felt like I got that. So we want to find a way to empower women.
To say basically for me, you know what, women, we all wear a lot of hats. We had a mama hat, the sister hat, the friend hat, the cheerleader hat, the domestic engineer hat, the coach hat. We wear all the hats. What's really great is you can have it your way if it's done with the right intention and the right heart. You can have it your way. Your life can be Burger King. You can have it your way. However, you don't lose your core values and who you really are in the process of it.
Compromise. Because like she
You
felt
don't become
That's
this,
what I
and
find.
now you're not this
But now
anymore.
you're not this, and that's
Yeah.
what I find with women. It's all these carving out of, and it goes back to seasons, right? Okay, so I have all these women now. Now their thing is, oh, I'm an empty nester. Okay, well, what does an empty nester really look like? Okay, so let's unpack that for a minute. What is an empty nester? No, you're not an empty nester. You're now in a season.
What's your new vision?
Right,
What are you casting for
What are you
yourself?
casting for yourself?
Yeah.
What are you going
So-
to do not only for yourself,
yourself,
what are you going to do for your
others.
husband? What are you going to do for others? Now
Right.
it's time for you to get involved in a nonprofit.
Profit.
Right.
Right.
What really, do you hate?
What are you
breast
passionate
cancer?
about?
Cancer.
You know,
Write a book.
Or now's your
Write a
time.
book. Tell your story.
Well, not only that, but now's your time to maybe see, what cause are you really passionate about? How can you go help the old ladies at all the homes right now? How can you start a bake thing? How can you start a walking group? You love fitness? Go knock on everybody that in your neighborhood that's over 60. You could say, you know what? I'm going to start, and I want 5 friends, right? Because I'm going to declare it, that I'm going to gather and capture, right? Because everything in life is multiplication. Like we always tell our kids, people do 4 things to you. They add, subtract, multiply, divide. Okay, that's a message for you. So what are you adding to, and what are you multiplying with?
That's right.
Right? So I think that's the only message I would want to address is, as women, really everybody has seasons, right? But as women have all these different seasons in their life. And 2, like you kind of started touching on earlier, how you like a little alone time. Well, alone and loneliness are 2 different things.
That's right.
And isolation
It's
done out
unhealthy.
of balance,
It's
right,
unhealthy, right.
brings loneliness, right? So Jesus retreated. He had to retreat and
But
go
to get
away and leave the
refreshed,
crowd
Yeah.
to get refreshed and get filled. Because we always say this: you give out of your overflow. You can't give what you don't possess.
That's right.
Right? Because you what? You're counterfeit. You can't give what you don't possess.
That's right.
But when you take what someone else has, because people are always looking up and grabbing those. So like I said this in the company meeting last week, this is our body position. We always looking to be mentored, and we always mentoring someone. We always looking to someone to bring us and raise us to the next level, and then we extended our hand to
Bring
raise that
somebody
person
up.
to the next level. And that's really the multiplication of life. Is that
Well, I think what happens with empty nesters is exactly what it is. It's an empty nest. So my whole life was involved, which is this little group. My kids, which nothing's wrong with that. I think it's wonderful. But I had nothing else. I have nothing else to pull from.
there's an element of my identity that
My
gets
identity.
that gets
It's like I took my identity and I put it there. Like, my identity is not my kids. It's a piece of who I am. I hope it deposited in them. But I'm still Heather.
right.
Right?
And so you
Yeah.
have these
And so-
pods. Like
You're exactly
it's
right.
true. You
Yeah.
have these pods. So you had years ago, I remember in the 80s, probably 70s, my mother was part of a group called Women in Business. Remember Mom was part of that group? And so you can see women taking certain roles, right? But all of us need to always be in check, right? So that's that prayer time. Self-discovery brings recovery and helps us analyze what our real motive is, right? Because everything's out of motive. But I see a lot of women who get lost as they should be in the 4th quarter and enjoying
Finish
it,
strong.
Exactly.
finishing strong,
Yeah.
right? Because that's something we always say. We know we're going to finish strong. And they almost become where they look like this, right? Instead of looking out. Because if you look out, needs are everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
You have a need, go meet the need you have. And then God shows up and
God
makes
shows
sure
up.
your needs get met. So that's really one thing I want to say for women is just identifying your season, knowing who you are, knowing the why of why you in the place you're in, right? But for us,
and even in our business, though, too, Shami, and I think what we can tap into that in our business is that women in that season, their hair's changing,
right?
because of testosterone, lack of testosterone, stress, weight changing, lack of muscle tone, and all that. So
Menopause, all those things.
So when their hair's changing and they starting to see physical changes. So we love to say, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing. Let's do your eyebrows. You need a few more lashes." Honestly,
The evolution of beauty,
right? So it's to bring them up, because when you start to see a physical change, if you don't have that person or that style, you don't want the stylist to say, "Oh, I know, I could definitely see you definitely."
Oh
look
yeah,
older.
no, we all getting old.
No,
I'll
let me
participate
tell you
in
what
that.
we need to tweak. I always say it's the minor details that make the major
Differences.
So you need to take those minor little things and you need to tweak it.
Everything's
So
being
do
tweaked.
that.
So probably people get in a rut, right? They don't know what to do.
They get in a rut,
Yeah.
and especially it's really between. I always say between 40 and 50. Get over being safe. You got to put your sexy on. So I always say that. I think everybody wants to be sexy. I don't care who you are.
Right.
And then really, when you're 50 and you're moving into being 60, you really need to realize what's not working. But I'm gonna go in and do all those little tweaks.
And
it's
that's
minor
really what I
changes.
call the redefining.
Yeah.
You've already kind of defined who you are. Now you're having to redefine where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
So and it's great. 'Cause we do things organically.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? But
Same
we really
thing with me.
learned and modeled because we
Yeah.
saw our mom. Do you know what I'm saying? And she was just that living, that example of true womanhood and knowing kind of who she was in every season she was in.
Well, it's like the wedding I did. The girl, she didn't say she liked her hair, but she says, "I just want to let you know you brought so much fun to the group. Everybody loved meeting you." Okay, so why a girl she had the day before did her hair? It was a different group. It was different fun. Because it's that confident piece, and I love doing weddings, and oh my gosh, you look
Passion.
amazing. Tell me what
Passion
you do.
comes
Tell me about
Right,
your mom.
right.
And so I think if we wanted to just address, because whoever your audience may be, I think the aging process for that female, 40, you're starting
critical.
to see changes, but we always say from 40 to 50, get over
just
being safe, you got to put
Be
your
sexy on.
Gotcha.
and then really when you're 50,
See, to 60, it's really kind of not only defining, because you've been defined, redefining who you are and where you want to go.
well, your testosterone's changing, but that doesn't mean you have to.
Right.
It's the right haircut.
Doesn't mean
using
you
the
look-
right products. You really need to go see a trichologist, and maybe there's something you need to take. Something's off there.
Yep.
But and
Hormones are adjusting. I mean,
Yep.
things are,
stress, and so that's
Yeah.
when we go in and just say, listen, you know what, you need to thicken your eyebrows. You need to color your eyebrow. We need to stay in that. We need to add a few extra lashes. You need to go get a little Botox. You need to get a little.
we need to work on some exfoliation. We need to create more skin health.
So these are all things that as you age, you can age gracefully. I wonder if it's the same for guys, because I think this is what my opinion is about staying youthful, right? Because, I try to stay youthful. I buy all these crazy shoes that I know are going to connect with the kids, because it's like, it brings up a conversation. It's like, man, you got these shoes. You got
Shami,
Freddie
nobody can wear muscle shirts that's white
Jeans
and shorts and get away with it with you.
But what I found for me is that there's two things I've identified that it almost seems like it's given me the fountain of youth. Competition, competing, where there's a real scoreboard. I win and I lose. There's something about that is just gets you revved up into a
Agreed.
whole,
Right.
And the other thing is ideas, is dreaming. And so,
love
it's
that.
like, man, if you continue to dream and you continue to compete, where there's a hard line in the sand, you're going to win or lose. I'm trying to go break this world record later on this year, early next year. Like, man, that's putting yourself out there, but
Yes.
it does something to you
Yes.
that just makes you feel like, man, like you're 20
It's
years
that
old
adrenaline.
again.
Yes.
I know, it's that adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's that
Yes.
resistance. It's that vision to see it,
I have a client of mine. When you said that, I was thinking about her. Now, when I first met her, I knew when she was single, and she was always, great hard worker. She had a great medical job, made lots of money, gets married, raises her 2 kids, and now through the little seasons of that, she was always competing, doing triathlons and all this. And her name's Kathy Kalikia, and she is so passionate about she's like, oh, I was like in the top 5 or 10 of my age category, this like 2 weeks ago when she did a triathlon. Like, she is just on another element of high. She doesn't work, but she's still full of vision, full of passion. She just kind of just stepped into that new season, and she's happy. Heather can tell you.
I know.
She brings me all these, sends me recipes, tells me different vitamins, brings me a huge bag of healthy snacks when I did her last week. But she don't need to work, and it's not even about that. But she's at another phase and thriving. Because just like you said, she's decided to say, okay, you know what, let me compete a little more.
Right, what's next?
I mean, what's next for me?
Yeah.
She took a trip and rented a car by herself and went on a week of hiking in the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I love that.
Because it's outside of your comfort
outside
zone,
of
so
your
you
comfort
feel
zone. You gotta push
alive. It's
yourself.
like it's
Yes.
new. I've never experienced this before. What's going to happen? There could be a bobcat that runs out of the woods and gets me. But when you get in those elements, man, it's when you come back alive.
Like Heather said, do it afraid.
Yeah, that's why
Do it
I hear
afraid.
so many people, because I'm 57, and you see people and they're like, they forgot how to, the
Live.
youthfulness of the competing and the doing hard things and putting yourself against the wall to see what you're made of still.
Right,
You know,
right.
how do you know what you're made of unless you're putting yourself to the test?
Well, I love Jesse Duplantis. He always says, stay like a child and stay childlike.
Yeah.
Never lose that child that's inside of you.
know.
And there
That's
is
the
a
dream,
refreshing
that's the
about
dream
that.
piece,
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like
That's
kids have no
Imaginative.
limits.
They're not thinking anything.
The first gift God gave us was to imagine.
Yeah, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a policeman. They have no idea how they're going to be a policeman, but man, this is what I want to be, you know?
I love that.
Yeah,
And dreams never expire.
never expire.
Never expire.
Never expire. And guess what? You got lots of them. Once you build muscle memory up. When you start
Yes.
having ideas and dreams, guess what? There's more that come and more
Totally.
that come and more that come.
It was awesome.
Well, girls,
Thank you.
I got to tell you, man, this was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Forever young.
So you got H2O, you got Mandeville, and you got Metairie. Huh,
Metairie,
Shelby?
yeah, yeah.
Can the audience find you? Like,
Yeah, tell everybody how to. Yep, how do they find you? Your website, your social media stuff. Like, how do they get in
For
touch
me
with
and
you?
Metairie, it's H2O Salon Spa.com.
Okay, and what are yours? Your Instagram.
You know, but what I think's really cool, even the message of that, you know, in the Bible, Jesus always said, you go into the highways and the byways, and he always connected north, south, east, and west. And it's really cool how we are connected on a beauty scale of the north and the south.
Yep.
Like we just,
H2.
God has encompassed us to look, whether you're on the south shore, whether you're on the north shore,
Yeah,
ageless beauty awaits you.
Ageless beauty awaits you.
You know what I'm
Forever young.
saying?
And
Forever
Shelby,
young.
even thinking about like Katrina, like that was such a defining moment, and you know that personally in your own life with
big
your
time.
family. But it's like we really could have retreated. I mean, our kids were all little, right? We
Yep.
could have said, "Oh my gosh, how are we going to do it?" I would be building a new home, and you know the whole story.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, no, you know what? We want everybody to know we're strong. We're coming back, and we'll come back stronger than ever. So again, you always have to be willing to do the hard things. Like,
Roll
you know
your
what?
sleeves up.
I did it before. I can do it again.
Roll
That's
your
right.
sleeves up.
You know, this one didn't show up, but you know what? That means I'm coming in 2 hours earlier.
You can begin again.
And when you have that adrenaline and your day's over, you know what? I believe there's something in you because you said it and you thought it and your body lines up with that you'll finish the day and I had so much energy. I don't even know how I did it. That's what God
You
comes
can
in.
relate to that. I can
You know
totally
what I'm
relate to
saying?
that.
every day
I
almost.
feel like that so many times.
How the heck did I get through this? But
Yeah.
but you come out
But it was
smelling like a
awesome.
rose.
I know.
Yes.
That's what I worry about the younger generation. Is are they? I'm a Gen Xer. So are
Right.
you? So are you
Right.
guys, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
I raised myself 7 o'clock in the morning in the summer times. I'm on my bike to Metairie Playground. I'm learning how to conflict resolute. I'm learning about situational awareness. I'm learning how to risk analysis.
analysis.
I'm
Right.
doing
Right.
crazy things, figuring out how to talk my way out of trouble, how to maneuver, how to deal with grown people when I'm doing
Right.
something I'm not supposed to, and I got to get
Then-
myself out of a
right.
pickle.
Then you're motivating a team to play.
Yeah. But this was as a little
Navigating
kid.
As a little
Yes.
kid.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, as a
Like
little
that.
kid,
My
man.
grandmother would say, "Don't come home till it gets dark."
Yeah, yeah.
Just to stay outside.
And the one time I
And the
came
one-
home when it was after dark, I come home and the police are sitting in front of my house
Looking
and
for you.
looking for me, boy. I got the belt. My dad tore my ass up, boy. And then guess what? I didn't even cry on the ass whipping, but I had a football game the next night. He said, "You
And
know what?
missed
You're
it.
not even playing in the game." So I go to the game. We had an old station wagon, and you know the station wagons have the back. Well, I get in the car. I'm in my regular clothes, sad as can be, because I was the quarterback and all. You're not playing. You're not playing. We get to Metairie Playground in the back of the playground.
God didn't
My
show
dad said, "Come here, son." He said, "Listen, the only reason I did this because I needed for you to know how much that I loved you, and you scared the hell out of us. Your equipment's in the back of the car. Go get dressed to play."
Oh, love that.
That's
yeah,
cute.
Benny B.
That's a
Benny-
God the Father move.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.